everybody. Thank you guys for coming out to this week's Howl. Last week's Howl was pretty awesome, but I think this week is going to be our best one yet. First, we're just going to open it up for announcements and peer-to-peer chip presentations. Then the India team actually got back recently, so we got Powell. He's going to come up and talk about his trip a little bit. Then we're going to invite Col Dierdorf to come up and talk about Mustache March. Then we have a declaration to present to MSgt Tawbush, and then his farewell at the end. So without further ado, if anybody has any announcements, make it busted.
You know I do. I'm sorry I don't have any peer chips this week, guys. It's been a crazy week. But I do want to throw something out. Nancy's good at clipping articles out of the base paper, but you can thank everyone. You're here in the top picture here, but we made the paper yet again. It's 2 weeks in a row that the 821 and the 821 CRG and the 821 CRS are in the base paper, getting some photo ops, not just text. So check it out every now and then, but here we are. We'll put it up somewhere. But 12th Air Force Commander visit, which was kind of a big deal. So thanks, guys, for that. And thanks for whoever took the pictures and got us in the papers. So I appreciate it. And we have some from 2 weeks ago with another visit. So we'll get those up in the board so everyone can take a look at it. So rock on, Hellhounds. Thank you.
Any other announcements or peer-to-peer chip presentation? Going once.
I got a peer chip real quick.
Yes, sir.
Senior under Carter.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, hey, so, alright, so you guys know we've been doing some static load trainings with the KC-10s, and those guys have, they're very excited to have us, we're very excited to have them. I asked the question, like, well, how does this really tactically help us? Can we move an LSSV or something like that, or a CRT, something in the KC-10s? And got an email today that says, no, we can't. And I was like, oh man, how are we gonna get to yes? And the email was brilliant. It pretty much, we have the culture of how do you get to yes. His email was like, no, we can't. Here's all the facts. Here's how much shorting it would take. By the way, it doesn't physically make the ACL of the KC-10 floor. There's absolutely no doubt in my mind you cannot move an LSSB on a KC-10, and that was a brilliant email. So thank you very much for clearing that up. So you're getting points for saying no. Good job.
Kind of follow on in the same vein. Sergeant, you want to come? So, Sergeant, we had our Indian team, Sergeant Nick very quickly stepped up to be the lead on the first ever, I think the history of ever, I can't prove it in anyone's recent memory, to work statics with the KC-10s. They had a deficit of boom training for uploads and downloads, and he led the first CR team to go make that happen yesterday with both us and the CRSS involved. We got, what was it, 8 booms training between 2 different squadrons? Yes. So getting both the 6th and the 9th ARS, we got great feedback from you and the team, so thanks, man.
Thank you, sir. Last call for announcements for peer-to-peer chips.
Booster Club is back from India, so if you want to buy charter tickets, come by us.
And for the folks at home, Booster Club is back. Find them if you want to buy trade tickets. Last call? Nothing? Alright, without further ado, Powell.
Hello everybody, SrA Powell here. I just wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about our trip to India, exactly to Chhattisgarh airfield. Let me start saying that this was a crazy trip. Crazy trip. This, to me, this trip resembles our motto: to be motivated, capable, and adaptive. We had to be changing our plan over, like, on track, to stay on track with the mission. So let me start saying that we started our mission going from here to McCord. Then the initial plan was to have 2 Papa Deltas, and each Papa Delta on a different aircraft. Each Papa Delta had a different route, and as soon as we get to India, we was gonna start working split apart, but as a team, right? But this didn't happen. So whenever we went from McCord to Hawaii, then from Hawaii we went to Guam. Whenever we get to Guam, our Papa Delta with conformed from Sergeant Addy, Sergeant Jackson, McCullough, Airman F, and myself. Our aircraft was broke down, so we couldn't continue with that one. So rapidly, Sergeant Mary and Sergeant Etheridge, he came with the idea, okay, well, we're gonna have to travel together, you guys come over here. We hop in their aircraft and continue our mission, right? At this point, we went from Guam over here, we didn't go like this, we go around. So we went from Guam to Thailand. In Thailand, then after we went to the Maldives, then instead of we going to India straight, we couldn't, because at that point we couldn't go over the airspace in India because it was night. So we went to IUD and we stopped there. When we stopped there, we were working in our plan again. Everything's gonna be beautiful, everything's gonna be dope, right? But no, that didn't happen. So from there, we were supposed to stay there like for a night. We couldn't because at that point, the weather won't let us get into India. So we had to stay another day. So now, okay, that's fine. We know that will happen, that's fine. From there, then 2 days after, we went into India. We stopped a little bit northern. Then after, we actually get to the place where we're supposed to be, Saragat Airfield in India. Whenever we got there, we said, okay, we got this, you're gonna do this, you're gonna do the other. But guess what? We couldn't do what was planned because the user wasn't ready with all the equipment that they needed for us to be able to do our work. At this point, we had low plans, everything set up. Trash. We gotta do it again. At this point, Sergeant Etheridge and Sergeant Mary working on the low plans. I mean, Addy here, Staff Sergeant Addy, sorry. He had everything dead eye, and he was like, okay, he had a plan already. They say no. He like, try. He worked. Okay, let me say that at this point it's humid, sunny, and we start working around 1200 local. So you can imagine it was hot, very hot. So at this point, he like, okay, I got this. Myself, Airman F, and Airman Castellucci start working on the weather marking. Everything was good, everything was okay. Whenever we have all set up, we are about to, next step, right? We're gonna load our aircraft. No, Loadmaster says he doesn't want it like that. So we gotta rearrange again. More load plans, more changes, trash, do it again. And this is why I say it's like, you gotta be adaptive. We demonstrated that we can do whatever we have to do and we can work under pressure. That's our motto. So, yeah, we don't have to. And, yeah, so after this, how I was saying, 7 hours working, so it was 11 of us, we worked as a team, we struggled together, we went over the struggle, accomplished the mission. So in 7 hours, we were able to JI, load plan, pack manifest, and take care of the mission, loading 289 tons cargo with 4 strikers and more than 45 packs. I have to say that at this point, there was a couple vehicles that it was the first time in my life seeing them. And it was kind of nice to be, able to execute under that pressure. Because myself, I didn't know we were capable of doing it, but we did. It was a super long trip, 15 days, more. I want to say that was more like 56 hours flying, something like that. And it was tough. It was tough, but we overcame it. And I have to say too that it was like very nice to have the opportunity to visit different countries during this period. even though we couldn't go around because of due to COVID and all that, we have the opportunity to be in this country and actually see how these countries live and be grateful that for what you have. And yes, I gotta say that we have finished. Yeah, that's how we do. This is some pictures of the equipment that we actually load. Porters doing their job right there. And yeah, we were a little tired after it. And this is the redeployment with the satisfaction of the mission that the mission was accomplished. And that's it. Woo.
Hey, guys, I just want to jump in here real quick for a few different reasons and just say thanks. Who was on the JI tasking? Yeah. Anybody not tired? Yeah, a little run ragged, right? Oh, I'm starting out all right. You're on the next one out. I just want to say thanks to the entire team for a great job. A couple of different things here that I thought was a great briefing, by the way. So for those who work in around planes and service on planes, as an airlifter myself, I'll just highlight the fact that is not an easy lifestyle, is it? Yeah, so when you're loading or when you're servicing or when you're helping out launch those aircraft, recognize those crews live this lifestyle day and night. And it's not, at least back in the day, it wasn't uncommon to do a mission like that, get 12 hours at home and then head out on another mission back to back to back. So it's a grind, and a lot of times air crew are treated as prima donnas, and the intent is not to treat the air crew as prima donnas, but keep that operation as safe as possible, because it's not easy to live that lifestyle. But hopefully you guys got an appreciation for that. If anybody's interested in getting the air crew side of the house, there's a good introduction. But it's not all like that, but it's pretty cool to get to see the locations you get to go see. To your point though, too, about that mission to India, anybody, can we go back to the map slide? Anybody know what the population of India is? All right, so how about the United States? Let me start off there. Anybody have any idea what the population of the United States is geographic here? 330 million or so? Well, it's comparable to India, which is a country like maybe a third of the size. But instead of 330 million, add a 1 in front of it for 1.34 billion people living in a country that size, okay? So, if you didn't know your geography, who happens to be directly north of India, which is China, which is obviously one of our strategic peers at this point. And India is a critically important state in the national geoglobal political context. So the job that our team went out may have seemed like a lot of time on a C-17, loading some cargo, kind of like we do everywhere else a lot of times. But I need you guys to realize the strategic impact that a few of you wearing a CR patch on your shoulder have. And that's by strengthening a strategic relationship with a country like India has significant geopolitical impacts globally. Because now we're deepening our relationship not only with the politicians in India, but also with their military, who have long been affiliated with. Anybody have any idea who trained the majority of the Indian military? The Soviets. So the British had kind of a little bit of fallout, right? 1949, didn't really like the West, so they affiliated themselves with the Soviet Union. So they have very, very deep ties with Russia. And as a result, they have seen the light and they're starting to come closer to the United States. But simple missions like this have strategic impact. And I just want you guys all to understand and know what you guys do. The great attitude that you have out there is not only seen by folks wearing our U.S. patch on our shoulders, but is seen by our partners and allies too. And that really radiates. Because as somebody who studied India professionally and visited India to develop strategic relationships, they really rely on what I consider a conscript service, and what is completely cosmic to them are the technical capabilities of our enlisted corps. You notice there were no officers on this trip. That was led by our NCOs. And the NCOs bring the technical competence of our U.S. Air Force and are emblematic of the United States and the West at large. And that simple impact that you guys had with the Indian military in this case, and the nation of India,
again, had significant impact, whether you realize it or not. And it was a lot more than just pushing cargoes and doing load plans in JI. So thank you for everything you do. Look for those opportunities every time you're involved with something. Understand how you're part of the bigger picture, because that's the good thing about CR. We're only called forward to do the things that are really important to the nation, and this is just one small example of it. So, to the entire team, raise your hand one more time. Thank you. For those who didn't raise your hand, realize you could be called at a moment's notice to do something similar. And from the bottom of my heart, thanks for all your hard work and great job. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Colonel Wade. At this point, we'd like to open it up for Colonel Dierdorf to speak on Mustache March.
Oh boy.
A couple real quick DO notes before we get into the stash hood. Just want to give you guys a heads up. Late May, early June is going to be a pretty high ops tempo for the squadron. We got the debt that's going to be happening with E3, we've got Mobility Guardian, and then we have a Hades Rat and a Knitter, kind of all piling on top of each other, culminated with the change of command. So, prepping the battle space now, be ready. It's going to be a busy couple of weeks, and some of these are critical exercises to make sure we get the right people qualified for taking alert in September. So, when COVID starts to lift, you guys are starting to look for summer leave plans. Just recognize that last 2 weeks of May, first 2 weeks of June are going to be super busy, and plan accordingly as best you can. Other DO note, Defender training, force protection training yesterday was awesome. So thank you guys for putting that on. It was absolutely incredible. I do gotta mention though, I saw a lot of folks had some morale tabs on their battle rattle. Don't care about morale tabs me personally, but watch the content. So if there's profanities or offensive terms on it, or if there's political affiliations, I did see a couple of morale tabs that should not be worn by military members in uniform. So check your stuff. If it needs to get pulled off, it's Velcro, thank goodness. So, all right, that's it. Let's get into mustaches. All right, what's Mustache March mean to you guys? Good, this is gonna be fun. Disruptive thinking to me. You know, we grow mustaches because it is in honor of a disruptive thinker, and that's kind of why we do it. Patron saint of Mustache March is Robin Olds. If you guys aren't familiar with him, we're actually going to talk about him today, because I've been a huge, I've been doing the Mustache March thing for every year for a while now. You can't tell, but I'm 5 days into the most pathetic mustache y'all have ever seen. A couple years ago, I decided to actually get smart on this Robin Olds guy that we are all worshiping. Turns out he's a bit of a character, and it's going to be nervous having 206s here listening to me talk about a very edgy individual. So, best way to learn, I think, is by doing. So if you guys can all whip out your cell phones, please. Some of y'all might need to scoot over a little bit. We're going to be taking a quiz based off of this TV screen here.
Can I use my work phone, or is it going to be in a
It's totally okay. You guys are fine. So Kahoot, K-A-H-O-O-T .it, Kahoot.it. And then the game pin is listed on the screen. So kind of move yourself around so you can see that game pin. This is going to be like a trivia quiz. Questions are going to pop up. You're going to answer by pressing the color that coordinates with the answer that you want to put for that question. And 10 seconds, faster you answer, the more points you'll get, as long as it's correct. All right, then these questions will lead into some stories.
I'm in.
We do have some couches here if you guys need to move around and want some comfortable seating up front. While you guys are getting all done, the source material for all of this is going to be Robin Olds' biography. Just to scope it, he didn't actually write all of this, his daughter helped. So everything in here was told by Robin Olds to his daughter. And that will help scope it as we get further into the history of this distinguished gentleman. You guys ready? Anybody else still working? Alright, let's get going here. Alright, start the stage here. The questions aren't going to pop up on your phone, so you're going to have to see the screen. Okay. Chuck Norris, actually ex-Air Force. If you guys didn't know that, he is an Air Force vet. Okay, good. So you guys think we have lots of good role models. That's heartening. All right. Not sure who DC fan is in here. Good. Well, I'm happy that most of you guys have heard of Robin Olds. That'll make this a little bit easier.
There's a lot of space.
Wait.
I can't even see it.
Okay, so he was an All-American football player at West Point. His sophomore or junior year, he bragged about playing against Notre Dame and bringing it out to a tie. He's a starting defensive end and offensive end. His senior year, the only thing he mentioned in the couple pages covering his senior year of football was there was a Navy player that was pissing him off, got a very legal hit against him, knocked out a couple of teeth, so he intentionally went knee first into the dude's ribs, broke ribs, and floated over him. So, they're setting the stage. There's Cadet Olds right there. This was right before I went to P-38 training. We are at war at this situation. So if you think about it, he just took a upcoming Navy officer out of the fight. Oh, I was nervous because there's no sixes here. That's... Okay, so this is slightly a trick question. So he was a P-38 pilot. First couple of months in theater, they just had kind of ground missions, they strafed some things, whatever. He didn't get an air-to-air kill that he really wanted to. So one day, him and his wingmen are up. They're part of a group of fighters. They have the left flank defense of a formation of B-24s. My grandpa flew B-24s. He's a flight engineer and a top gunner. So this is where the story kind of hit home to me. So him and his wingmen are flying along. They see a large formation of German fighters. He decides he's going to do something about it. So he goes and he pitches out to go after these fighters. He admits that he was super excited. He wanted to take on all 50 of them by himself. He did not call it in. He did not warn the bombers that there was an enemy presence, and he did not get his other fighter guys to pitch into the fight. When his wingman tried to call it in, he toned him over the radio. He squelched the radio so his wingman couldn't call in and contact report with the enemies. All right? So, a little more background is this is right about the point in the war where the 8th Air Force commander has said he went from the fighter's job is to defend the bombers, to the fighter's job is to kill enemy fighters. It was a mindset change. So essentially what he did is he prevented us from getting a distinctive, big victory over German fighters. He went 2v50 as opposed to massing and taking down a whole bunch of German fighters, which is what the strategy was. Not only did he not get with the new strategy of killing fighters, he also failed the old strategy of defending bombers. You guys will start to see the trend and where I'm getting these emotions from. Next time, yes. We'll get the projectors going next time. Okay, so his strategy to pitch out, go 2v50, was slightly successful. He did get his first air-to-air kill. Back in that day, they had droppable tanks. You drop the fuel tanks to become more maneuverable, a little bit lighter. He forgot to switch the fuel selector from external to internal. So right at the time where he pulled the trigger to take down his first German fighter, his engine died. And he pulled out, he said, feet from the ground. So this guy got his first kill, screwed up his entire plan to go 2v50, and then almost got himself killed because of basic airmanship that he could not get correct. So yeah, he flamed himself out and barely made it out alive. A little bit of movement here on the leaderboard. I like that. Alright, here we go. So when he was over in England, his unit transitioned from the P-38 to the P-51. His very first flight in the P-51, now they didn't have two-seaters, which is fine, but he specifically avoided the training sessions. So he did not understand the impacts of if you overflare a P-51, and since they sit lower than the P-38 did, it was a trend. And other pilots had noticed this trend. And he overflared it and essentially veered off the wrong way, landed, and came to a rest about 50 feet from a USO show that Glenn Miller was doing. So it wasn't just Glenn Miller he almost crunched, it was the hundreds of people that were sitting there. All because he didn't want to talk to other pilots about best practices and how to fly this newfangled toy he got. This is where it gets interesting. Let's get away from airmanship for a bit and talk about officership. Alright. So Robin Old's father was a lieutenant general as well. So, well, he's grown up as a young officer. His father's still in the general ranks. So he went to Paris. He was invited there. He hung out with a whole bunch of top-level generals who were his daddy's buddies and whatnot. And yeah, he definitely had a vignette in his story about how he got drunk on champagne and hired 3 prostitutes who woke up without his wallet. Remember, he dictated this book to his daughter. Wow. New leaders. Alright, so he shows up to the new unit. Alright, let's get ready. So he goes up there. He goes up to the scheduling desk. Now he's assigned to the OSS, and he's pissed off that he's assigned to the OSS because he wants to be assigned to the fighter squadron, of course. He goes up to the scheduling desk, says, "Okay, when can I get on the line to fly?" And F-86 was very, very new at the point. They were flooding the pipeline. They're like, "It's probably going to be a couple weeks, if not a couple of months, before you get this plane." And he argued a little bit. Was pretty much told, "Shut up and color." So he grabs his stuff. He goes out to the flight line. He sees a mechanic pre-flighting an F-86. He goes up to him, climbs up the ladder, says, hey Chief, you mind running me through the engine startup sequence? And the maintainer, sure, didn't know that this guy wasn't on the line, wasn't on his flight orders. So he teaches him how to start the engine, shows him how to start the engine, and Olds took off, flew around, and he landed. Goes to turn in his 781, and they're gonna, I don't know, throw the book at him. And then the fighter squadron realized, well, you're not assigned to my squadron, I can't do anything. So he got away with it. No negative ramifications at all. In fact, he became one of the leading F-86 pilots and helped to develop fighter tactics that were used across the entire community. Alright, we're seeing some movement up there. A couple more questions. Okay. So, pretty much sat out Korea, stateside assignments, instructing and teaching and whatnot. But when he got to Vietnam, he was a wing commander, and the MiGs were picking apart our F-105 squadrons. It was really hard to get the defenses against them. So he came up with a plan. He was like, all right, well, we're going to simulate the high straight flying that an F-105 does. See if we can get the North Vietnamese to launch their fighters against us, because the F-4 is superior aircraft. So if they're going to fight, the F-4 is going to win. So he's like, all right, let's pretend to be the F-105s, which the North Koreans were able to pick off, and drew them into a pretty decisive battle, got quite a few kills, and even more importantly, adjusted the North Koreans' tactics. They realized they can't just send planes willy-nilly at what they think are 105s anymore. So that was brilliant. Alright? You guys can kind of catch the hint, I'm hating on this man hard, but that was absolutely brilliant and helped to save a lot of airmen's lives by coming up with new and innovative tactics and new and innovative ways to fight wars. Alright. Somebody's running away with this thing. You'll notice I didn't put a visual aid on this particular question for a very good reason. I don't even need to go into this one.
No comment.
No, I don't need to go into this. You guys can catch the drift. He was still married at this time though.
Sean.
Okay. You guys have heard me say it. I'm not saying he's a good officer. I'm not saying he's a good person. I'm saying he's a brilliant tactician. Post-Vietnam, he came back to the States. He spent some time at the Air Force Academy doing some dean or commandant style of stuff out there. Then he went to the Air Force IG office, and the book pretty much ended with him saying, "I'm sick of the Air Force. They're bureaucratically blah, blah, blah." It's pretty much like, "You can't fire me, I quit," because "Dear boss, I quit" kind of letter. Where if you look and you research other stories, dude had a serious alcohol issue, and so he was pretty much run out of the Air Force. So he still doesn't want to admit that he peaked as a brigadier general because of his personal behaviors. He says he couldn't take it anymore with the bureaucracy. Air Force said, "We don't want you anymore." So just to kind of give you that stuff. Right, so now you guys have heard what I've had to say. This one should be a gimme. I hope it's a gimme. Please make this a gimme. That's, by the way, it's him without a mustache. Did anybody recognize him in the room?
No.
I sure as heck would. Okay. I don't know, I'll be honest, if you're one of those 6 people and want to have an honest discussion with me, I'm serious. I'm all for having that conversation, and I'd love to have that chat. And you guys can change my mind, possibly. I'm always open to new information. But if you 6 do believe that there's some officership lessons to be learned, let's chat, because let's highlight the good and the bad. It's a runaway. All right.
This says a lot.
It does.
Too much.
It does say a lot.
Too much.
It does say a lot. We're going to take this with a grain of salt on a Friday afternoon. But 15 people at the very beginning said he was, and 8 said, "I have no idea who this is." So either I've convinced 8 people that let's be careful who we admire, or I've at least convinced one person of let's be careful who we admire and why. Always educate. So if you think about it, the biggest issue with having Robin Olds as an Air Force role model, he was not humble. Right? This is actually a lesson in humble leadership. He was not humble. He thought he could go 2B50. He thought that breaking your opponent's ribs is okay. He thought that he was the best fighter pilot ever lived, and everybody should bow to his wishes. And it bit him. That arrogance ended up biting him in the butt and preventing him from being even more than he already was. So I don't want to leave this on a downer. We're going to have one of these again some other time, but I do want to ask, and this is serious, so take a minute to look at this one. Who do we want to cover next? Because I don't just want to be the Debbie Downer. This is Mustache Mark, so Robin Olds is appropriate. But there are so many great and humble leaders throughout the Air Force history, or even American history. And we can even go more modern than this. You got General Goldfein, who's got some great humility lessons. You got General Mattis. So, okay. Well, guys, thank you for putting up with me for a little bit. Next presentation will go about the Candy Bomber. I read his biography, and that dude is an absolutely incredible person. And if you want to talk about humble leadership, he's definitely on the podium. So thank you very much. I appreciate y'all's time. I think there's one final podium here we can place. Well done. Who's old guy? Anybody impressive? Yes. All right. Well, congratulations, guys.
Sweet. All right, just real quick, we're going to go into a farewell, but before we do that, since we do have a good number of folks today, is there anyone who's brand new that we didn't get to? What? Where's your flight? All right, let's give them a warm welcome.
Sergeant Jason Algebot, came from Osan, but before that I was here at Travis for a good while. Originally from Sacramento, have a wife and 2 baby girls, 3 and 2. Just glad to be here. Glad to be back at Travis.
Welcome. Anyone else? Waiting for your turn? All right. Ready? Nate, front center.
Attention to order. This is to certify that the President of the United States of America, authorized by Executive Order 16 January 1969, has awarded the Meritorious Service Medal to Master Sergeant Nathan M. Tawbush for meritorious service 1 October 2016 to 5 March 2021. Master Sergeant Nathan M. Tawbush distinguished himself in the performance of outstanding service to the United States as Readiness Flight Chief, 821st Contingency Response Squadron, 821st Contingency Response Group, 621st Contingency Response Wing, Travis Air Force Base, California. During this period, Sergeant Tawbush deployed to 3 airfields in Puerto Rico and Florida, with minimal notice to deliver 1 million pounds of aid to 70,000 citizens devastated by Hurricanes Irma and Maria. His accurate weather support over a 20-day period ensured safe airfield operations and accelerated support to the ravaged area. Additionally, Sergeant Tawbush was on the ground at Tyndall Air Force Base immediately following Hurricane Michael, where he enabled the rapid recovery of the airfield, saved 17 F-22 aircraft, and informed President Trump's decision to rebuild the base. Furthermore, he excelled in multiple areas, earning the Non-Commissioned Officer Academy's John L. LtCol Award, the group's 2018 Senior Non-Commissioned Officer of the Year, and the Wing's 2019 Weather Senior Non-Commissioned Officer of the Year. Sergeant Tawbush's efforts propelled the unit's nomination for the 2017 Air Force Association Citation of Honor and the Wing's 2019 Air Force Outstanding Unit Award. Finally, his unrelenting community support enabled 394 church services, earning him the Wing's 2017, 2018, and 2019 Spirit of Hope Awards. The singularly distinctive accomplishments of Sergeant Tawbush reflect great credit upon himself and the United States Air Force.
Hurricane cycle though, so hoping to get some folks out the door, but as we send folks out on PCS, you know, we're losing some of that experience. And Nate and you, we had, you know, your response after basically every single hurricane. So Hurricane Irma sent you out to the marathon. Hurricane Maria, you went to Agua Dia, and then to Ponce. And then, you know, we know your famous Tyndall video, which will continue to show for the next decade. So plan on us still emailing you and being like, where did you put the Tyndall video? No. But that's phenomenal. And I think for those of you that, you know, we all come and do this mission, and it is an insurance plan, but man, we're always egging to go out the door. And so I hope that you enjoyed your time, and I really appreciate, you know, your sharing that knowledge and that experience and being part of what has been the backbone of CR and showing airmen what we really do. So Nate is off to Langley. He's going to go work for Air Combat Command, ACC, under the Air Ops Squadron, and he is going to be the squadron superintendent. He's got comm troops, harm troops, and weather. So it'll be fun. And I know personally, I want to say thank you because from the day I got here, when I first got here, Nate was running my change of command, and he was literally running around. Like, I remember doing my speech, and like, he's taking pictures now, and he's setting up the table over there, and that really is just the epitome of you and who you are. And I, you know, virtually, I'll say thanks to Megan as well. You guys have been a great team. You know, enjoyed getting to know your family, having your dad down at JRTC, but always humble. I appreciate it, and I tell you all this, right? I tell you all as a commander, it's like looking at an ocean, and you don't know if there's a coral reef under there or if it's an oil spill, and every once in a while, like, a fish jumps up and it's like, there's life, okay? So I always tell you guys, like, come and tell me, right? You don't need the chain of command, just tell me how we're doing. What are the good things we need to keep around? Where am I in your way? Where do I need to course correct? And so Nate being my exec for a good chunk of time, I really appreciated our candid conversations and that you were not shy to do that. And I know that you will do the same for your new commander, and he or she will be way lucky to have you. So we send you off with the best, and we'll let you make your speech, but let me give you this. So.
First off, thank you all for being here at this mandatory event. I appreciate that very much. Col Wade, great to have you out, sir, and thank you, ma'am, for kind words. And, first of all, I do have to thank my wife and my family, my kids for. This has really been our first assignment all together, and it's our first move all together. So we moved from 2 different places to here, and then so this is a big move for us, and it's been an interesting last couple of weeks. We've been working really, really hard. So thank you, Hank, for supporting me through that, and supporting me through this, and being ready for whatever comes down. And suddenly gone in the middle of the night. So just thank you, Hank. And then also want to say thank you to Sergeant Asa Ali from 921, our weather person over there. She is an amazing senior in CO, and so just thank you so much for being here. One of my best friends, so I appreciate you. So thank you. Love you. And thank you to all of you for being my family. I was just thinking about, we talk sometimes about how the uniform represents all those that wore before us and all the different forms of camouflage that came before us, and there's a similar sentiment in the squadron that you represent not just the uniform and not just the squadron as it is now, but the squadron as it was before and who came before and the operations that happened before. So when you look around and see the walls and you say, I have no idea where that was or what we were doing or what, still something was significant that was happening there. It was strategic impact that was happening, and it happened because of the people in the squadron, the people in this group, the people in this wing. And so just keep that in mind as you walk through your days, and hopefully we come up with some more stuff that we can actually do real world, because that changes your whole life when it comes to helping out people that need it. And probably the Texas team could attest to that. When you really get out to where you can really do something that is felt and is needed and people are desperate for it, that changes everything. So I just want to say thank you to each one of you for being part of my family here. I missed so many of our family members that have moved on, and now it's just my turn, and it probably has been for a little bit of time. But I just think I'm so thankful for every experience I've had here with all of you, and out on the road, and actually it's more than just being out on the road, right? We're out to do something, and so it's made a huge impact on my life. I'll never forget it. I'll never forget each and every one of the leaders that I've worked with. I'm so thankful for all of you, and I just feel that when the world finds chaos, they will also find a hellhound
a dragon, a gladiator, crows, devil raiders, making order out of it. So give them hell.
Nate, you get to lead us out.
Acapella.
Yes,